Yesterday, just to give you a very short introduction about what the Festival of Ideas is all about. So the Festival of Ideas stems from an idea that the late philosopher Edward de Bono, known for lateral thinking and the six thinking hats and many other books and many other lateral thinking tools, from an interview that he had where he expressed the wish that Malta, as a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean, could become an island of creativity and ideas. So the cultural directorate was inspired by this, and we wanted to create something where ideas are generated. So this festival is all about generating ideas. It's all about the question, what are we going to do tomorrow? Okay, so we are trying to be, this is not just a topic shop, this is something where we are trying to see the world of tomorrow. How we're going to shape, how we're going to be active agents in shaping the world of tomorrow. So much so that the proceeds of this proceedings of this festival will be eventually collected and presented not just to the general public, but also presented to the policymaker. Because at the end of the day, it's the policymaker that also has to put an investment in creating the world of tomorrow. Well, we all have to put an investment in creating the world of tomorrow, but the policymaker has a very important role. So together, this festival brings experts, the general public, but also artists and creators who together in one conversation, we're trying to visualize the world of tomorrow in concrete terms. So today, I would like to welcome you to the Lectio Magistralis. My friends usually laugh at me because I insist so much on using this term. I'm using this term because it has the implication of it being not just a keynote speech, but also more than anything, it's a masterclass. And this is the importance of it, that we have experts in dialogue who will give us ideas, who will spark ideas. And I'm very happy that our speaker today actually tackles the idea of a festival of ideas in his books as well. So he really fits like a glove. Well, to introduce him, I have to have some assistance, some technological assistance. That he comes from a country where the budding idea of a revolution to create independence, to get or to obtain independence, is called the Poets' Revolution. It was the poets who were writing that there needs to be a revolution to get their freedom from colonialism. But that country is Ireland, and Cormac Russell here is from Ireland. And he is a social explorer, an author, and a speaker. But Cormac Russell is a renowned social explorer, author, and highly sought after speaker, and he's founding director of Nurture Development and a member of the Asset-Based Community Development, ABCD Institute, at DePaul University in Chicago. With over 25 years of experience, Cormac has made a significant impact across 35 countries, where he has successfully trained communities, agencies, NGOs, and government ABCD, and various other community-based approaches. His work spans multiple continents, including Africa, Asia, Australia, Oceania, Europe, and North America. He's also the co-author of two influential books. His latest publication is The Connected Community, Discovering the Health, Wealth, and Power of Neighborhoods, co-author with John McKnight, and another key work is Rekindling Democracy, a professional's guide to working in citizen space. So the theme for today will be the invisible power of our communities. Before I give you the word, I would like to thank the Foundation for Social Welfare Services, FSWS, because this is a joint event, and I would really love to thank our colleague Dennis Farouj, because it was through her that I actually got to know Cormac. So I give you the word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for those kind words, Alex, and thank you to the Ministry of Culture for hosting us. And it seems apt that we should be thinking about tomorrow in a beautiful building like this and such a wonderful room dedicated to archaeology, which of course is the study of yesterday in very minute detail. And so this idea of discovery or digging for the past in order to be able to better orient ourselves to tomorrow is really important. So I think stories come in two ways into our lives. The first kind of story is the story we receive when we're very young and we're perhaps passive. And there are stories that are given to us, we inherit. And then there are stories that we weave, weaving. And I think what we're trying to think about in the Festival of Ideas is both at the same time. How do we reweave the stories of tomorrow while also making sense of the stories we've received? Sometimes stories which haven't always been very enabling. We see in some countries recently that the stories the populations have received haven't even been truthful, been intentionally spread by bad actors. So reweaving the stories is a way of taking apart what we've been given and then making better sense of it for tomorrow. This is very different than just looking to the future and ignoring our past or our present. One of the ways I think we can awaken that conversation is together. I think we learn things better together. So what I'd like to do to start this lecture is test that idea by inviting you to connect with somebody you're sitting beside, or perhaps behind if you want to be adventurous, and say hello. It's a pretty low-risk question.
Hello.
You could maybe go further and say why you're here today.
I'm interested in this guy. I like this idea of social explorer instead of social researcher. Tricks.
Nice.
My research is about
So there's a great sense of humility
heritage online.
attentiveness in the room. People are still talking, so you're more active. Okay, let's try this. Now that you've broken the ice and you connect with each other, some of you still are, which is wonderful. Share a story with each other, the people you've been speaking to, about a time when you got together with neighbors, ordinary people, not paid to do so, but you got together because you cared about something, and together you made a difference, not because you were paid, but because you cared. So over time, maybe your neighbors, maybe friends, maybe colleagues, but you did it not for pay, but for love. To share a story about a time you got together with others to make things better. Just briefly, let's take 2 or 3 minutes on this. And then notice the energy in the room changing. Go ahead.
I cannot find really an example of something that was done as a community, I was thinking the examples I had were based on individual experience.
But I think could be something small, something in the beginning, your family.
Yeah, but as I'm seeing it, I see that there is a resistance of people, to see something more than the end of their own nose. I mean, I'm trying, not to be pessimistic and not to be judgmental with other people, but I think very much I am. This is my bias, that I cannot see this positive aspect, like I see a lot of collective damage that we are doing.
Like I did, someone in England wants to reconnect, someone with you in 8 years of people help and share information, and sometimes they get to meet.
I'm from Poland, so the examples are coming from the history, like the Solidarność and this kind of movement, but it's history, it could be easily like 400 years ago, it would be more or less the same. But yeah, as my dad was part of it, it's still like vivid in my family, like this legend,
Okay,
Yep.
let's allow me to pause. If you haven't finished that story and you'd like to, maybe arrange to have coffee and continue the conversation. Seriously, this is how we human beings work. So let me just draw some attention to what I didn't do and what I did in order to start this lecture. The first thing is I relocated authority to you. I foregrounded you, I backgrounded myself. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you notice the energy change? What you were talking about, I think, was culture. Would that be fair? Maybe often culture that isn't as ornate as this wonderful room, but culture nonetheless. The second thing I did was I decided, instead of delivering a lecture at the beginning, I decided to discover your wisdom at the beginning. So I flipped from delivery to discovery. Really important. If we're in delivery mode, we won't discover culture. We'll deliver a program. They're two different things. Okay? This third thing I think I did was I started with what's strong within you, rather than assume that I was here to fix something wrong within you. Okay. And the last is that we started with contact before content. That your relationships with each other matter far more than your relationships with whatever I say. Well, here's the thing. If you're strongly related to each other, and I've permitted that as a facilitator, what does that do to your trust in me? Okay. So some people, I think, come to these lectures because they want to figure out how to get their expertise or what they're trying to bring to the world. Maybe it's help, maybe it's change, maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's healing, maybe it's art. But they want the world to engage with that form. And maybe they're curious about how to do that. A lot of what I have to say today is not going to offer you technical solutions to relational challenges. What I'm going to suggest instead is that one of the reasons why we often get stuck when we're trying to make change happen and help people is because we are not understanding the mode of change. We're stuck in a technical way of working instead of a relational way of working. So huge thanks to you for trusting me and trusting each other and actually sharing a story. Did anybody hear a story that surprised them or delighted them in some way? Did you hear something just in that last few moments when you were sharing stories about a time people got together to make things better that you enjoyed? I won't ask you to share it, I'm just curious. Did you hear anything that you enjoyed? Just a show of hands. Nice. Okay. So, great. Well, that's a nice way to start this morning, with enjoyment and surprise. I think one of the things that indicates to us as human beings that we're in the presence of culture is that we can be surprised. If you're in a clinical environment, the idea is to extinguish surprise, that there be no surprises here. We're in the middle of a surgery, a brain surgery. You don't want surprises. But if you're in the midst of listening to a beautiful piece of music, even though it may have been shared for 400, 500 years, you're still in awe and open to surprise. Because the dance between your knowing and experiencing and being in that moment and the musicality are doing something completely new. It's never been that way before in the world. I think that's a wonderful thing. I want to talk a little bit about what I'm describing as nurturing culture within the context of a community.